Oh, hello and welcome everyone. We are here, podcast number 9. Hard to believe we're doing this fine in such a short amount of time. Anyway, so today what I want to share with you all, my mother passed away about six years ago. It'll be 7 years this January. And when I was growing up, my mom was, as I would say most little girls' moms are, but I know that's not the case. I know, at least for me, my mom was like my superhero. And she just had this. Now, I realized it just was, she was an adult. Not to diminish my mom at all. And she was an adult. She lived more life than I lived. So she knew of more circumstances that existed out in the world than I knew of, one of which I'll share with you in this podcast. But I didn't know any of that. All I knew is my mom was amazing and a rock star. And there was this one time I was in grade school, and it had to be about, right there between kindergarten, first, second, third grade, thereabouts. Third grade, I for sure remember we were sitting at desk, right? Like that was the first grade. It was like, no, you sit at a desk and this is your desk and you're in third grade now and this is what you do. And so in this classroom, we were still playing, part of our day was still playing on the floor. So I don't think it was third grade. And there was this boy in the class. We were a predominantly girl class, not for lack of, trying, obviously, but it was a prominently girl class. So there were a few boys. So the few boys that were in there, the girls enjoyed interacting with, especially the girls who didn't have brothers. See, I had brothers. And so for me, boys were gross and I wanted nothing to do with them. But these girls were interested in boys and playing with them and laughing and joking with them. And I wanted to be like these girls. So I was like, well, I'm going to play and I'm going to laugh with these boys too. And so there was this one particular boy, and we used to play this game called Seesaw. And you sit down on the floor facing each other, your leg length apart, but just enough that your feet touch, and one person kicks while the other person relaxes, and you're basically like, it's like doing the bicycle, but in the air, but like with somebody against you, and we used to call it Seesaw. And we used to go seesaw, seesaw, right, as we kicked our feet back and forth. Well, we would play with this little boy, and the girls were taking turns seesawing with the little boy. And he's just brown-haired little boy, right, like just straight out of like a 90s movie, and or a sitcom, with the bicycle shorts and the high socks with the stripes, right, like that. And so, in the tight shirt, right, the little tight t-shirt that they had the boys wear back then. And so I wanted to play, so while I was sitting there waiting to play, one of the little girls leaned over and whispered in my ear, "You can see his pee-pee," right? And at first I was like, what is she talking about, right? So then I get there and we're seesawing. And when we would see, you could see, right? And his little pecker was just flopping out the side of his little teeny tiny shorts. And maybe he knew, maybe he didn't know. I don't know. But in the moment, I didn't think he knew. And I immediately felt shame. Like, oh my God, this is like wrong. We should not be doing this. So, I didn't want to be uncool though, right? So it's one of the first times I can remember selling out on myself. And if you recall in an earlier podcast, I said, I said, I want to say that my first moment of self-actualization is when I was in high school, because I actually really, I recall this moment. It's like so vividly and clearly, right? And I felt so much shame and like dirtiness. And it wasn't even necessarily because of what we were doing. When it looked like he was having fun, I was enjoying myself. But the minute it was like there was a joke going on and he wasn't in on it, he in fact was the joke, it just didn't sit well with me. And I stopped playing seesaw, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want the girls to not think I was cool. And so when I went home, I attempted to share it with my mom in a way that she didn't get that I felt shame for what I did. So I just remember trying to be all nonchalant. I even practiced my opening. Oh, let me tell you what I'm going to do at school today, right? Like waiting for the opportunity for her to ask me. So it wasn't like I was being overly anxious, being very strategic about it. And, she finally asked, and I tell her, and oh, mommy, it was so funny. We were playing seesaw with this little boy, and you could see his wee-wee. And I tried to have it be as like so insignificant, right? Even though it was so significant for me. And my mom just stopped in her tracks and she was like, shame on you. Shame on you for picking on that little boy because his family is too poor and they can't afford underwear. Now, mind you, this is like second grade. Not like I didn't know money existed, but I didn't really know about money and finances and what some people had and some people didn't. So I never knew there was this world or there were people out there in the world who didn't have enough money to buy underwear, which for me was like an essential. Now, as I look back, I remember we were always having clothes drives in school and underwear drives and things like that at school where we would go to Target or Walmart and we would, buy the the discount panties and the underwears in the multi-pack in 10, and we would get 2 packs, one for us to keep at the house and one for us to take to school, right? To donate for the families that were less fortunate. And it was always something that we did, but I never knew who one of those people were. And to be so close to it and like actually be a part of like the picking on, if you will, it just so did not sit well with me. So in that moment, what I decided is I was never going to be as woke as my mom. I just wasn't. But what I was going to be a beast for the underdog.